The idea that geniuses develop on their own is a myth.
Just the thought of having another Mozart, it blew my mind. I thought, why do we not talk about her?
Mozart's sister rather came and went at the theatres, though I'm sure it will soon be available online. And it tells the story of the other Mozart, Maria Anna, nicknamed Nannerl, whose career was initially just as stellar as that of her younger and infinitely more famous brother, Wolfgang Amadeus.
Marianne Mozart was very gifted. Her father at one point wrote that she is one of the finest keyboard players in Europe.
Composing was another way of playing together.
Nannerl and Wolfgang Mozart had the fortune to be child prodigies in 18th century Austria. At the ages of, respectively, 10 and 6, they were put to work by their father. Wolfgang played violin, Nannerl mostly played keyboards, though they often swapped, and they hit the road playing, as they say, to the crowned heads of Europe.
But when Maria Anna turned 15, she was stopped. Because if you were performing as a woman, it was equal to prostitution.
Until Nannerl turned 15, and suddenly her fame and her creativity were switched off. Children could play in public, young women could not in the so-called Age of Enlightenment. But Nannerl was not only a virtuoso harpsichordist, she composed too. And according to no less an authority than Wolfgang Mozart himself, she was very good.
In the 18th century, women were expected to be mothers and wives.
We know Maria Anna composed, but where are her compositions?
But what stymies this film is that none of Maria Anna Mozart's work survives. Or does it? If she were a musical genius, say some musicologists, is it not possible that some of the other Mozart's works may be wholly or partly written by his older sister?
Could Maria Anna have been as brilliant as her brother, if she'd had the chance?
Well, in fairness to the documentary Mozart's Sister, it doesn't quite dive down that rabbit hole, though some of the interviewees were clearly tempted to. One even hires a detective, Arizona handwriting expert Heidi Harrelson, to weigh up the evidence.
People all around the world are searching for her works.
I mean, I like classical music, but I mean, over in Europe, whoa. They're a little rabid about it over there.
Heidi's slightly shocked amusement at how obsessive Mozart fans can be is a highlight of the film. But Mozart's Sister does touch on more substantial issues, the short list of other overlooked female composers, and more up to date, how much of the current repertoire remains weighted in favour of male composers.
Classical music has this power. 92% of the repertoire is composed by men. If we don't encourage women now, it repeats.
Actually, it's slightly worse than the figure 92% male suggests. In fact, 87% of featured composers are no longer living male. But there are two happy endings to Mozart's Sister. The film is mostly narrated by her modern-day equivalent, 20-year-old British composer and conductor Alma Deutscher.
In her 50th year, Maria Anna Mozart returned to performing.
I just loved this idea that she didn't give up. She inspired me to compose myself.
Like Nannerl, Alma was a child prodigy. Unlike her, she was allowed to advance her career afterwards. But Nannerl's life had an unexpected twist. With no prospect of a musical career, she married a wealthy businessman and became the Austrian Hausfrau everyone expected her to be. But when her husband died, leaving her very comfortably off, she decided to hell with it.
Maria Anna is one story of many.
The pendulum is at last swinging in our direction.
At the age of 50, she went back on the stage where Mozart's sister was welcomed with open arms. Like Cher, she built a new career in her middle age. So while she never achieved the fame of her brother, it may be some consolation that her life was somewhat happier, and that the example of a talented young woman should be such an inspiration to the world 250 years later.
We just want to open the doors of this world, which is so beautiful.